Don't Worry Darling presents a 1950s utopian community that's hiding a lot of disturbing secrets. With a powerhouse lead and exciting trailer, it promised a lot, but ends up delivering very little, with most of the hype surrounding the film being about the drama behind the scenes rather than on screen. But before I get further into it, please consider subscribing and switching on notifications, as it really helps us out. And if you are feeling particularly generous, give us a like as well, as that tells YouTube that this video is worth showing to others. Be warned, this video will have spoilers, as I really can't explain why I find it so underwhelming without going into the major twist and resulting thematic observations. But I'll start by covering the things I did enjoy about this film. Firstly, it's absolutely gorgeous to look at. The production design from Katie Byron brings to life the 1950s in a very energetic and colourful way. There's always something interesting to look at within the frame, whether that be a particular lamp or a chair, and there was a real emphasis put on the claustrophobic nature of some of the spaces, such as Alice's multiple mirrored bathroom or that corridor full of photos, and these lived-in spaces contrasted with the dangerous and empty desert that traps the community. Byron was helped by Ariane Phillips's fun costume design and Matthew Libertique's creative cinematography, and these three departments really felt like they complemented one another perfectly. The only exception was the unnecessarily nauseating camera work during the pool party scene, where the camera was spinning far too fast for far too long. But apart from this scene, if you're looking for a sight for sore eyes, then this film is very pleasing. Secondly, Florence Pugh's performance is phenomenal. She's proven time and time again that she's capable of expressing gradual insanity and absurdity within the stories that she's telling with finite control. If this film was a play, then the linearity would help with this task, but considering that films are shot out of order, her ability to hit the exact level of tension needed for each scene is very impressive. However, Pugh alone could not give this film meaning, especially a film whose story I have seen before in The Stepford Wives, a novel in which husbands kill their wives and recreate them as robots in order to live out the traditional fantasy of the American dream. In the 2004 film adaptation, they don't kill them, but they do bionically alter them to create cyborgs that they can control. In Don't Worry Darling, this premise is updated to suit current times, with the women being controlled via virtual reality. This technology has become increasingly advanced and popular, be it not quite at the rate Mark Zuckerberg with his creepy metaverse would like. VR was explored in the Black Mirror episode called Striking Vipers, where the technology was able to make you experience the feeling of being punched or being pleasured without physically doing anything in real life. The same goes for Don't Worry Darling. Alice only starts to suspect something when her curiosity leads her to the exit of the VR program, which wakes her up in real life, forcing Jack to put her back under. The brainwashing element isn't perfect, so she continues to have these hallucinations and the memories of her actual life break through the simulation. The problem is, too much of this film was left for the audience to guess and assume. We don't really get to understand why Jack chose this life for him and Alice. Now, I know that when she confronts him about it, the reason he gives is that he wanted to save her from having to work at this grueling job as a doctor. But during the montage, the triggering event that we see is him being sexually rejected once after she does a 30-hour shift. This just didn't add up for me, because they're not strangers. In reality and virtual reality, we are repeatedly shown how much they love one another even when times are tough. They even have the reputation in Victory for their unending lust for one another. So why would Jack assume that this is something she would want? Is there a deeper psychopathy to him? If control is his toxic trait, then surely this wouldn't disappear when they're in Victory. I'm not saying I agree with what he did. It's 100% abuse and wrong, but I wanted to know more about his motives. I wanted him to have a chance to explain, to be vulnerable rather than just villainous. In fact, all of the men I feel had this blanket villainy to them, especially Frank. We see this twisted, almost playful, competitive side to him during dinner, but we learn absolutely nothing about him and what motivated him to create victory. The audience is given this insinuation that this is some heinous act of misogyny, but it feels like a baseless attack on all men rather than the specific men responsible. I assume that Alice, when she wakes up, will confront these men, but I think that the film should have done that, rather than shying away from making any sort of provocative point. We get a glimmer of nuance when we learn that Bunny is there by choice so that she can be with her kids. But if this is such a tight-knit, secretive, dark web society of men that want to subjugate women, then why is Bunny allowed in? Before we get any sort of explanation, Alice runs away and the film ends. Ironically, just like a good housewife should, this film avoids confrontation and is passive. Moreover, it ignores all of the people that would willingly sign up to live in a world like this, an idea that is brilliantly explored by the TV series Westworld. Virtual reality, AI, and to some extent video games are often treated as this scary sci-fi topic only fit for dystopias. But realistically, VR and online communities are helping people overcome social anxiety and depression. Some content is also tailor-made to be accessible for people with various disabilities and illnesses, which prevent them from doing similar activities in real life. Where are these people in victory? Let's look at A Clockwork Orange, which is a clear inspiration for Don't Worry Darling. It features the same dystopian setting, the torturous, eye-opening devices used during the brainwashing, and the theme of young men desiring control of themselves and others. The novel by Anthony Burgess was written in 1962, and Stanley Kubrick's film adaptation shied away from absolutely nothing. It remains one of the most influential films in cinematic history because the commentary it makes on human nature is still relevant. We live in a society trying to overcome historically built discrimination. Racism, sexism, ableism, all the isms. We need films to add value to the ongoing discourse surrounding these topics, but Don't Worry Darling doesn't really do that. It perpetuates stereotypes, something I would expect from the Stepford Wives novel, which was written in 1975, a time when the idyllic 1950s life was still prevalent, and the way that it satirizes this life would have been pushing the envelope hard, just as A Clockwork Orange does for its time. The score didn't help. 1950s songs aside, I found it rather boring. We're given these incredible moments where Alice can feel that something is wrong, where she loses her sense of time and sense of self, like when she's crushed between the wall of photos and the glass, or when she wraps her head in cling film, or when she's underwater and then emerges from the bath. I wanted the score to give me goosebumps, to increase my discomfort at what I'm seeing, and yet it remains subdued. It also felt like there was a missed opportunity to more obviously destroy the world, as it felt like the degradation of the utopia was exclusively shown through Pugh's performance. Now, I'm not saying we need to see buildings collapsing like in Inception, but like in Inception, part of the immersion within this artificial world relies on the individual mind that is connected. So they could have broken more rules with what Alice is seeing, just like when the streetlights explode right at the end. Overall, Don't Worry Darling plays it safe, delivering a cautionary fairy tale without going into too much detail. It certainly looks beautiful and features a predictably stunning performance by Pugh, but it ultimately needed to be more daring and specific about the observations it makes on contemporary culture. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe and switch on notifications so you don't miss future videos, and comment below with your thoughts on the film. For more film content, feel free to follow us on Twitter, Letterboxd and TikTok, links in the description. Otherwise, this has been Tea Break Film Reviews. My name's Michelle, and I hope you have a great day.